Now, to close off this chapter, my friends, we're going to go over buttons and Topstitch, which are two things that we can add to our elements, and it just makes them look way nicer. So here's how it works. Over on this side, we're going to have the Topstitch, as you can see right here. We got the segment Topstitch tool and the free Topstitch tool. I'm going to be using this segment Topstitch tool, and as you can see, if I just click on something, like right there, it's just going to start like doing its processing, its synchronization, and what's going to happen is it's going to add literally a Topstitch. A Topstitch is nothing more than the little like clicks or little threads that go through an object and make it look very nice. Now keep in mind that this Topstitch is extra geometry. Like every single Topstitch that I'm adding right here is going to add more geometry to my element, but it's going to make it look very nice. Now similar to how we have the fabric, we also have the Topstitch menu, and as you can see right now we're using this default Topstitch. If I go to the default Topstitch and I double click, you're going to see that we have different types of elements. We can use this overlock, which is going to change the type of touch stitch. We can change this to the bar tag, for instance. I normally just keep it, well, not custom. In this case, it's just a single stitch, which is this one right here. You can go for the pick stitch, which is going to give you a little bit of a space between each other. You can go with the zigzag stitch. So at this point, you're free to choose whatever you want. And you can change also the color of the top stitch. So for instance, we can go for this sort of like gray color that I think benefits the whole thing better. I actually like the zigzag. And that's pretty much it. When you export, there are two options. You can export this Topstitch as texture if you have UV maps, or you can export this thing as geometry if you want to. Now, I'm going to take a very quick parenthesis here for those of you that are aware of other softwares and know how to use other softwares. If I was doing this for ZBrush, I would not be adding the Topstitch here. I would either add it in ZBrush so that I can do some nice like ID maps and paint it, or wait until the very end of my pipeline inside the Substance Painter to add the Topstitch. If you just want to create a nice piece, which is what we're going to be doing here, we're just going to export to Blender and create a nice render, then it works. But again, keep in mind that this is extra geometry that you're going to be using, okay? So that's it. Like there's literally not a lot of things to do with Topstitch. We can of course change the length, the width, and the space between each Topstitch. For instance, if I set this to 5, you're gonna see that there's gonna be a lot of space between each specific stitching of this element. And once you understand that, it's very easy. Just go over here, grab your segment Topstitch, and of course always go to the top element and just add your Topstitch. Now you can see it's gonna try to like blend itself. In this case, I'm gonna try to mix it so that's, there we go, like snapping a little bit better on my element. But depending on how many segments you have, you're gonna get this slightly different top stitch here and there. Let's do another one right here, and of course on this side. And you can see it really adds up, right? It really adds to the detail. It really makes the whole thing look a little bit more finished, more professional. So let's do the same thing on this one right here. And once you add the first top stitch, it like Marvelous loads this thing like quite easily. Actually, wait, give me a second. Let me undo that. You always want to add the top stitch on the top garment that you're working with. This is very important because that's the one that's like mostly going to be seen. You can add them on whichever one you want, of course. And remember, this ones that we added, that's why I told you guys to offset a single one right here, because we're going to be offsetting those lines right there, the small ones. There we go. And that again allows us to get a very nice top stitch effect across the whole character. So that's for top stitches. If you just want to add a little bit of extra detail, that's it. You can actually add to the border ones. In this case, it's not really going to make that much of a difference. But if we go, for instance, to this one, we can add a top stitch right there, and it's kind of going to go over the whole thing. So if that's something that you feel adds to the character, go for it. Feel free. Just have fun. There we go. Now you can see our whole leather thing is going to look way more intense because we got all of that top stitch going around our borders. Now, buttons. Buttons are a little bit different because buttons do not exist on the 2D pattern window. They exist on the 3D pattern window, and they exist right here. So the first thing that we need to do is create a button hole, which is where the button's going to go through. So I'm going to create, in this case, 3 button holes. Oh, one right here. So let's, yeah, right around there. One right around here, and another one right around there. Perfect. And now that we have the buttonholes, we need to create the buttons. So to create the buttons, we go back here, we create the buttons, and we're going to attach the buttons. In this case, I do believe we can attach them over here. So we're going to attach, let's say, one right there, and one right there. Okay, so following sort of like the same shape of the element. Lastly, what we need to do is we need to go to the fasten button option, select the button and select where it's going to go across. Select the button, select where it's going to go across. select the button, select where it's going to be going across, like that, and there we go. Once you do that, again, it really has not a lot. Like this software doesn't have a lot of science, guys. It's very intuitive, but of course you need to understand where the tools are. But once you have that, you literally just do the simulation, and what's going to happen is the buttons are going to press both of those elements together, and everything that's like connected, sewn to it, or just like attached somehow is going to be going to this particular element right there. Stop this one right here. You can see that that gives us a very nice like closing effect on the element. I do feel like we do have a little bit of extra fabric, but now this thing's not gonna fall off. And similar to Topstitch, we also have our button element. We have the default button right here. I don't remember if there are a lot of options. Yeah, we do have a couple of options here in case you want to go a little bit crazy. But in my case, the only thing that I want to change is I want to make them a dark button right there, like a dark glossy button. And I do believe there is also the buttonhole option. There we go. Right now we have this default buttonhole as well. And over here, we got a couple of options. I'm going to go with a very straight buttonhole. And on the fabric, I'm going to go for a gray stitching on that one as well. So it's not as obvious. And that's it. That's pretty much how you do it. Now, this little lock right here, that means that the button is closed. There is a way to change the locking of the element, as you can see right there. So since that, if that is open, as you can see when we simulate, the garment's just gonna like fall apart. In this case, it's not really gonna make that much of a difference. As you can see, it's kind of like fighting a little bit over on the simulation side of things. But that's again literally the way in how we do it. So just select the button. Oh, where's my button? There we go. And then we select the buttonhole, and that's going to fasten it and close the little lock. So now, once we go back to this thing, we're going to be able to see both elements just being sewn together. If you are working with a garment that has a lot of tension and the button is really holding, you are going to see the wrinkles of the button like actually like tensing the whole thing. In this case, it's a very relaxed fit, I would say. So we're not really seeing that much of an issue. But yeah, just keep it in mind because it's again, it's a very, very powerful tool. Topstitch to add detail and buttons to fasten certain things into our garment. Of course, this wouldn't work if we didn't calculate this extra strap that we're adding on top of the cape. But yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends. I'm going to stop the video right here. And with this, we are done with chapter 3. So make sure to get to this point because in the next chapter, we're actually going to be working on a different scene because this scene is already getting a little bit heavy. So we're going to be working on a different scene to do the gloves because the gloves, we're going to be like using or working with a little bit of all of the things that we've learned so far to create this very nice gloves. And of course, a nice top hat for the character. Top hat's very easy. It's going to be probably just 1 or 2 videos. So yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends. Keep up the good work. Make sure to get to this point in case you want to get the little feedback at the end when you show me your work. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you back on the next one.